Boom, and we're live. Gentlemen, it's Tuesday. It's the 7th of November. We are officially into the holiday season. How are we feeling? How are we doing?
Do you not consider Halloween holiday?
Well, think Halloween, once you start Halloween, that gets you into the holiday season.
Okay. Just
Interesting.
checking.
Thanks for killing
Just checking.
the momentum I had going into that. How we doing?
Would we have ever been able to keep that up knowing
I
us?
was. No, yeah, you're right. In the moment I
The
turned it
moment
over to
you stopped talking, it would have died.
Gentlemen, well, welcome to the holiday season. How we doing? How we feeling? How are we feeling after the Hot Ones episode that we just got through?
You know, this intro really killed my vibe. I think I'm done with this podcast.
Oh, okay. What are we talking
I'm just
about?
trying to derail you.
Thank you.
We're trying to gaslight you the whole intro.
Yeah,
No,
thank
This
you.
is the worst I've ever felt, actually.
You know, I carry this shit every fucking week on my back, trying to bring it with good positive energy, just with the hopes of one fucking time you guys would
Just
be such
once.
cocksuckers.
no, I'm feeling good. The hot one, surprisingly, update for viewers that we don't personally know. It actually wasn't bad. Like, I didn't have any after effects on the toilet, and the only effect I had, and I think I shared this with pretty much all the guys here, is it was the amount of milk I drank. My stomach was like, bro.
Hey now.
But otherwise,
Bruh.
it was just kind of, it was unsettled. My stomach was unsettled for most of the day until the evening time, and then that was it.
Good.
All things considered, I was pretty good. There was definitely like a moment that night where I was like, "Oh fuck, this was a mistake," but like it kind of came and went pretty quick.
Yeah.
It wasn't nearly as much misery as I thought it was gonna be. You know, like it was worth it.
For me, it was the worst was right after, and then as the day went on, it got better.
I felt it was a weird feeling eating those. Like it almost like it puts you into almost like the same kind of mindset of like you're like when you've been drinking. Like cuz it's like you can't think about any like you start being like delirious.
Yeah.
That's what it feels weird. It's hard to explain.
Interesting. Yeah, you do get that like spice high that you were talking about, right?
Well, and
I guess
yeah.
it's a better way. Not drinking, but like
Yeah.
it was like almost like a high.
yeah.
It was weird because it's like, I can't, I think I blacked out.
For me, I got sick from all the prep work that I had done because I was so full coming into the challenge.
What 10 Rolaids?
Dude, yeah, I had 7 Rolaids or something like that.
No, yeah,
And then I
you
had-
can't have 10 within 24-hour period.
Yeah,
That's what
and
it
then I had the butter and peanut butter sandwich,
And then the bite
And
of
then
butter.
we ate butter.
porta subs, and it just was eating all the foods, all the saturated fats, and I had I drank at least a half gallon of milk, at least a half a gallon of milk.
That
Babe,
carton,
more milk.
Was done. That carton was done, and you
Well,
didn't have any of it.
yeah, the carton of the milk I bought,
Yeah,
I drank at least 3/4 of it.
that's crazy. So I'm glad that's over. I don't know if I would ever do it again. To be honest, I'm glad that I could say I'm done. I've done it.
I'm already in a mindset where I could do it again.
Yeah.
I'm just not interested now that I've done it. I'm not.
I like pushing myself.
I'll push myself
Masochist.
in like productive ways. I don't think making myself sick is
It's productive for my own mindset.
There you go. Okay, there, Chad.
So no, I can't.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Just kidding.
Before we begin, there's a comment there for you. Billy.
I see it. I always get the grandma's approval. I'm a grandson myself.
I'm not,
And
because my grandparents are dead.
okay, all right. Well, that was not the
Wah,
comment I was
wah.
making at all. But
My
Sorry to hear
grandparents
that.
are dead too. Is this a competition?
It is. Billy?
now I got 3 alive, 4 alive. So
So you win,
I win.
I guess.
Congrats.
But I always get the grandma's approval. I'm a sucker for the grandparents,
Your
man.
grandma's boy?
Not a grandparents boy, to be honest. I always made it even when in college, I would make a priority to go visit my grandparents every single week, and I'd stay with their house. I strategically would build in a gap every Wednesday. The way labs would work, you could space it out however you wanted, and I would strategically build in a gap, and I'd go and eat lunch every Wednesday with my grandparents. And
What
that
a
was
nice
always
guy.
my
Wow.
that was always how I designed my schedule. So it was always important.
Stand
to
up
me.
guy.
Thank you. But thank you. It's good to know that I am funny because I'm the kind of person that
As if
laughs
you
at my
haven't been
jokes.
told that
Yeah.
5 billion times in your life. Finally.
I never know.
Finally,
I've never
I need to
known
see it
this.
written and documented. Okay,
People have
You've
been
never documented.
People have been calling you funny for as long as I can remember.
All right. Well, let's jump into our first topic. I know there's been a couple of game announcements and stuff coming out soon that we could touch on later, but I want to get into AI discussion a little bit. I know that that's probably been fatigued on this podcast, but there's something interesting going on in Hollywood right now that we've touched on a little bit more. I understand it a little bit better than what I did previously, and I want to get your guys' take on this. We went through a writer's strike, right? And that was tough
For us.
for us.
Yeah, we
as
had
viewers.
I struggled.
we had to fire our writers for this show because they refused to
Yeah.
work.
Thank God they are not back still,
Yeah.
because they've had an immense impact. Positive, negative, neutral, you decide. But regardless, writer's strike. Now we're going through an actor's strike right now. That's just started up, and it has to do with the similar thing with, the writers were talking more so like of AI and using the models sort of using their using their like language, their written history inside their models, and then as well as like being paid fairly. Of course, that was a huge part of the discussion. But with actors, it's them using their likeness, right? Because right now in film, you can generate like extras and you can generate backgrounds and stuff. And so part of these contracts that these studios are having people do is they're having them actors who are like B-listers or people who aren't the face of your movie, sort of sign away their rights to their quote unquote likeness, I guess, to be allowed to like used in these models for extras and in background work in perpetuity. And it's kind of an interesting debate right now because first off, that really, really hurts your A-listers big time. Or it really hurts people who aren't A-listers, right? Because how are they ever going to be cast in another movie, right? And get exposure if they're just sort of floating around in the background. So there's that part of the discussion. But another part of the discussion I want to get into is the idea of if people more and more, if this is a hurdle we can't get over or can't solve, I think obviously like people are going to want to go back to work. Not everybody, makes 30 million a movie like The Rock or these, number one people. So they have to go back to work at some point. So it's this battle between Hollywood and the actors. But it brought up an interesting concept of if you have enough to model after, right? You have enough content, enough movie, enough film, and then you can generate, leveraging AI, basically a movie with that person's likeness. Do you guys think that's kind of interesting with like creating a movie with somebody who's dead? Like think of it like an actor who you have enough film study on,
Then
then you create a movie. Like that's one of the discussions that they're talking about. Like
Didn't they say they were already planning to do it with James Dean?
there's
Yeah.
a few actors that they're talking about doing this with. I'm sure like John Wayne is probably up there in terms of what they can do. But it's
I
just
think-
it's kind of wild to throw that out there, and I just want to have a discussion around what your guys' thoughts are on this because it's crazy.
I think wouldn't be as cool as people think it would be. I'd rather use that same technology to just create like imagine you're like writing a book. You have an idea of what your hero would look like, and then you can just create that it doesn't have to be modeled after a dead person.
And you don't need a good artist, and you have to describe it to him.
Yeah, like I just let the dead lie. I don't think unless it's like a little cameo for certain things. But like that was one of the things with
Star Wars.
well,
Leia.
not just Star Wars, but in the new Flash movie. So George Reeves, I think his name is.
Yeah. First
He was
Superman.
kind of famous for not liking the role of Superman. He wasn't like a fan of it. It kind of messed with his life a little bit, and it made it so he could never get another job after that. And so he wanted to not be associated with Superman. and then this movie, The Flash, comes out, and one of the things they do is they make a CG version of George Reeves as Superman, and so like a lot of people are upset that I was like disrespecting his memory, and so I just feel like you'd run into stuff like that, like these actors, sure they're dead or whatever, but it's not like they could sign off on this, and
Well,
so
it's
like I don't
their
appreciate.
state.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that's the idea, that people would sign off on it now, and then when they do pass, they could be leveraged.
Yeah, maybe.
My-
But like I wouldn't want to go back and get an actor that's been dead for a long time. Like, what's it? John Wayne died in like 74.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I understand like that would probably be weird, but would you? I guess my question is, would you be at all interested in seeing a
Well,
film
That's
that
so.
has dead people? That's totally not real.
I don't think
We
it
already
would
have
work.
that.
I don't think so because I think we have proof of it, and I don't. I hope the execs can see it. If you look at Indiana Jones is the example I want to use, where they de-age him, right? That didn't make people want to go see it anymore. Like I'm pretty sure it did okay. I don't think it did
It's like
that.
170 million
Did it?
domestic. I don't know what international. It was the 10th top grossing film of this year, and it lost money.
Yeah.
The film actually lost
So-
money. It was a $300 million budget, and I don't think they made that back up.
And that was a big deal, and the technology looks great, but I don't think that's a big enough pool to bring people in. Because Harrison
Not
Ford
for
is
me.
still alive.
I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
Like, it might be cool, like technology wise, but I wouldn't be like, I have to see this because it has my favorite dead actor.
Well,
in
yeah, and
it,
like watching it with Harrison Ford, at least my thought the whole time was like, man, I wish they would just write somebody new who could actually pull off these stunts
Yeah.
and not be like big props to Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, love him, but it's like, stop dragging him back into it. Give me something new. Don't be lazy. And I feel like that's what they would do if they just used dead actors. I would have the same reaction of like, okay, just give me somebody new. Like I fell in love with Harrison Ford. I can fall in love with somebody else.
What do you think the draw is for studios to leverage tools like this to make content?
Money.
Cheaper than
You
hiring actors.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, think about Tom Cruise. $50 million just for him to be in your movie. This technology would not cost $50 million.
You hire a stunt actor and then plop somebody's face on him.
Yeah. It's way cheaper than actually hiring the actor. Same thing with a writer.
Well, whose face would you plop on though? Like you would still have your A-listers to pump.
So that's a part of the thing.
bring-
is these people that are signing, these actors that are signing these contracts to be in these movies. Part of it is studios are trying to get them to sign to be on the movie, but then also say that we have the rights to your face for any movie we make going
Correct.
forward.
Yeah.
So that's not just for the small time actors. That they were doing that to the big name actors as well. So like, all you need is one movie that you've had with Tom Cruise on it from 10 years ago, and you can use his likeness for anything going forward. And so they already have the big name actors in their like.
And they
ready to
would have,
go.
yeah. If just based on these contracts alone, not like a future potential, but these contracts, they're signing it. It's not like they're paying for the license to the face. They would already have that license.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So all they would hire is a stunt actor because they already have the license for Tom Cruise.
Think about all those people that you can hire an impressionist to sound just like Tom Cruise if that's what
To
you
walk like him, to
yeah, like, and then they just deep fake Tom Cruise over him, and then you got a movie, and you could pay that person $1 million instead of 50 million.
Yeah, I don't know if it's. See, I don't know if it's that. My take on it is, I definitely think that is one perspective, but I also think while the person's alive, like that would just be weird, right? Like having Tom Cruise, but he's not actually in your movie.
But that's what they're
and then
doing.
He wouldn't like try to promote it, and he might even actively like be like, oh, they took I don't like how they used my character. One or two comments like that I feel like could really tank the narrative of
well,
this
they
film.
probably have a clause in there that says you cannot talk
There's
bad
yeah.
about.
I'm sure. But my take on this of how they want to leverage it, I feel like this removes one vector of the problem of filmmaking. And I am not advocating for this at all. I think it's kind of weird. The whole thing is sort of lubricious, greasy.
Lubricious?
Yeah, it's a word. So it's like sticky, you know. It's kind of like one of those gross areas that you talk about, and you don't really have an idea. Like you don't know how to. Like it's just kind of gross, you know. You're like,
I get what you
It's
mean.
weird, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I think the way that the studios, we know that these studios are trying to reduce risk, go with like that, and we've seen that over the last 20 years. They're doing a lot of sequels. They're doing stuff that they know is going to hit, and like they've gotten pretty accurate with setting a budget and making a return. I feel like they do on the movies that they really heavily promote. They seem to hit it pretty well, and keep that machine going. But the way that I feel like film production in today's world requires such like a talent from the directing team. And I know that that's the director and it's all his supporting cast. But what?
You're going on this journey.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
I want you
keep
to
up.
keep up with me. So you've got this director, right? And it requires so much talent from them inherently to be able to execute all of the logistics of creating a film, right? So you have this idea of you've got set creation, you've got timelines, you've got schedules, and you've got actors that you're dealing with that are doing their own projects. You have to not only have that creative mind, but then you also have to have like this logistical side of your brain that has to be married to, or you have to have people in place to really support that effort, right? Because it's film production. It's not just the creative, I have this idea. It's all of that piece, right? And that's one of the reasons why Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson nailed it so well, because he did all three at once. And so that was a huge success in terms of being able to create that series. But so my point is the studios are trying to limit risk, and they see this unknown variable of what needs to be created for set production, what needs to be created for X, Y, and Z. And then they see this computer, like the ability to generate all this like with a computer model. And I feel like this decision to go this route isn't a fine and isn't a hard to find route. It's they're trying to contractually get the supply there to allow for more film production like this. So in the case of if they want to make a movie, it's less risk because they go, okay, we're going to make this a 2-hour film. We know what it cost frame by frame to make a film. Right? I guarantee they have models, they have numbers to specify this. Whether you're making Transformers or you're making Oppenheimer. Now, Oppenheimer was all live effects, but just a normal movie that was maybe limited CGI. I bet you they have a model that they can calculate what each frame costs. And so with the computer model, you have a much more true to model prediction of what the cost of that film is going to require, compared to the director with all of his creative and logistical challenges. That is a much larger variable. So I feel like this whole effort narrows the variance of risk by these studios and investing in these projects by saying, you create whatever you want. We'll get you 6 engineers or whatever the hell, 60 engineers to create this film. We know what the cost by frame is going to require. And we know that budget's going to be this price plus or minus 2-3% versus this price might be plus or minus 20%. And that might start throwing their models out. And companies love reducing risk. They will pay more money to reduce risk. That's why people do like leasing agreements and stuff, because it's a steady cost. There's no surprises. And so in my opinion, all of this effort is not so much, being able to, showcase Tom Cruise, whatever, but it's that the variance reduction on what it costs to make that film. That was a long roundabout way, but you guys, what do you think?
I think that I stopped listening to
Oh, okay. Thank you.
About 2. I'm just kidding. No, I mean, yeah, that's definitely like a take, but I really do think you're thinking about
And,
it too much. I
yeah.
think it's just money.
I would say
Well,
way
that's
cheap.
my entire point.
I know, but you're saying it's more about risk appetite and what they're, but like I don't think they're even thinking about it that much. I think they're thinking it's way cheaper than to just do it this way and still use a big name actor's face.
or even extras. It's way
I
cheaper
think that
not to have
you-
a find an extra. We just put them in digitally.
Like you're super analytical about it, and that's probably like in the grand scheme of things, that's ultimately all of the points they're trying to make. And there probably is like you said, there's like huge think tanks where they go over this. But I guarantee you the person making the decision isn't thinking about any of that.
Yeah.
He's just thinking, or she is just thinking, I could either spend $5 million on this or $50 million on this
Yeah.
and get the same result.
I just don't know if I would pay to see a movie with not Tom Cruise in it. If Tom Cruise, you know what I mean? Like it.
Yeah, we keep using Tom Cruise as an example, but
It could be anyone.
It could be anyone.
I just I don't know.
People
We'll
just
see.
wanna
But I
be
guess to
entertained.
your guys' point though, if it does cost $5 million, and you lost, in that example, you've lost 90% of your audience because 90% of people do think it's weird.
Yeah.
Well, then you still make money because your
Ultimately, you
overall
make
cost is lower, right?
your threshold of making money on a film is much lower because you're eliminating all of potentially like 90% of the actor fees because you're doing it. So I think that's really why they're doing it. And people might be upset at first. I like we said already, I'm not a huge fan of this, but people just want to be entertained. So eventually it's like, they're just going to start watching it anyways.
I want to take you guys on a thought experiment around this.
Okay.
Imagine the future. This goes through for whatever reason. Way in the future, I can picture where when you are ready to watch a movie, you would be like looking for who the body double of Tom Cruise is, and like that's the hype. It's like this is Jack Casey's Tom Cruise movie. Like, and I bet that I could see that happening. Like where it's like he does such a great Tom Cruise that it's almost like it's real.
Well, I think it would eventually just turn into, think about how many times people watch an animated movie that don't really care about the voice actors.
His body double's a better actor.
It's the same thing.
Someone said that.
His body doubles a better actor than Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
Tom Cruise doesn't act. He just does insane
The only thing he
stunts.
acts on is his run, and it is impressive. So expanding on that thought experiment a little bit, do you think us as humans will ever truly be entertained by AI? Because we have AI
Yes.
music now, and it's in droves, right? Drake did that whole thing, and it kind of blew up for 5 seconds, where it was like him and a bunch of like artists, like Tupac, right? Like, didn't he, or was it just Tupac or something? Tupac and Biggie, or
you're asking the wrong person.
Well, they
I
did
thought
like
you-
the AI music.
yeah,
It's not just them. Like they're having all these dead
Right.
artists sing whatever. And
Right.
It's very popular. Like I just listened to Chester Bennington sing "Life Is a Highway," and it actually sounds
like
amazing.
Rascal Flats.
Yeah, like
Okay.
like
So, but like, do you think we'll ever be like fully satisfied with that?
yeah.
Or is there
100%.
something
I think
to-
there's once people get over the quote unquote the weirdness factor of it. I think people are gonna just accept that the way they accept everything.
Well, and it's only gonna get better.
Yeah.
It's only gonna get more refined. Like it might be because I played Cyberpunk recently, but
That's also why I'm like that's why these movie studios where I'm like they don't care about anything except money. It's
The
cheaper
corpos.
because I'm like these fucking corpo rats. Like
Ooh, I can see AI being used to create our own movies. We could pick and choose the actors and scenarios, and the computer will generate the movie.
that'd be wild.
Oh, so now you're in.
No, I'm just saying that'd be wild. Like, could you imagine?
Like a choose.
That'd
your
be
own,
the
like-
same
I want to
thing-
see Will Smith in a setting of like Pursuit of Happiness.
Why wouldn't you just watch Pursuit of Happiness?
You want to see Will
Like-
Smith in The Pursuit of Happiness? So just watch The Pursuit
But
of
like
Happiness.
a different struggle, like where he wasn't trying to be a stockbroker, he was trying to be a janitor. I don't know, fucking
The
whatever.
But-
journey of becoming a
The
janitor.
journey of
Well, it'd be like
struggles. Dude.
that
Yeah.
same thing of like the deep fake with the stunt double, right? I could see that as a potential future too. Like eventually it'd evolve past that where the computer just does everything. And we would just say, and we choose the ingredients of a movie. And then movie.
There's something lame about that to me because I
True.
like to be.
It's,
I want to be,
There's always something lost when things evolve.
but I
or
would
when
say,
you choose your own. Like I don't know. Like I want to be subjected to because I know my own
So
I
biases.
wouldn't
wouldn't. I wouldn't consider that a film, though. I would consider that a completely different medium
Like
of entertainment.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go to the movie.
See, that's the
like,
thing. That's a whole other conversation
Yeah.
that you bring up. Of
That's
like
a-
what's the medium of entertainment? In
That's
20
a
years?
that's a new genre of entertainment. That's not a movie anymore.
Yeah.
If you're creating
Yeah.
your own,
That's a great
you
point.
know.
well, and I think,
I want to see Lord of the Rings, but Frodo is Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
that'd be pretty funny.
Can you smell what the ring is cooking?
He's all got like he's just like all the other hobbits are the same size, but he's the rock size.
He didn't change.
So he's just giant.
I'm Frodo.
Sam is played
Sam,
by Jack
I
Black.
can't carry you.
Or Kevin Hart.
Picks up the rock.
Kevin Hart is Sam.
God.
We have a question in chat. Is it creativity if a computer created it using an algorithm?
Interesting. Can a non-human thing be creative?
Not,
Does that
I would
count?
say not in that specific question where it uses an algorithm.
You know
That's-
what's
That digs into when we were talking about AI and like what my definition. I don't remember if Kyle agreed, but it's like once AI creates something of its own free will, like once it creates, that's when I would consider it
An algorithm
sentient.
isn't creating.
Yeah, it's just following rules for that specific one.
so my initial gut was no, but I remember reading about oh god, I don't remember the name of the program now. It's the one after AlphaGo, which it's Google. I think it's called like Zero or something. Oh no,
Sigma Go.
is it?
Just kidding.
Oh, it's like Zero. It's Google's AI for chess. And the only reason why I bring this up is because to that point, they had only ever seen like algorithmic decisions. Like, okay, the board is set up as this. What is the next highest statistical probability to make, to move me towards winning? I'm going to make that move. And it wasn't really creative or smart in any meaningful way. But this Google's AI that was specific to chess, I can't remember the name. Do you have it up?
AlphaGo Zero.
AlphaGo Zero.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the next version of it, and Grand Chess Masters said it was the first time that they witnessed. There was one game that they saw, and the computer used it was a learning model. It learned how to play chess by the rules. So it wasn't taught like probabilities and stats and this is that move, if this then that kind of thing. It just had built a model around, and taught itself how to play. It was the first time they ever witnessed a creative solution done by a computer in chess. And now they like named the move and stuff like that. But that to me like is creativity.
Well, and chat brings up a good point. I was
like,
gonna
we got
mention.
a couple of
Yeah.
things before we get to that to dissect. So the next part of that Millennial Ghost said, so he said, is something created to be creative, really creative? And then he says, is art not a set of rules and math done by a human brain to create? So like, and then Jinglebees says, I feel like that's what people do though. We're all a product of what we have learned and consumed. Our brains are kind of like computers. Can a computer be inspired by something that it has learned? So like now we're getting to like blending. What's the difference between
Yeah.
a brain and a computer?
Not much.
Ultimately, no. I mean, an organic computer versus a synthetic. computer is really what we're getting at here. So at what point is it
Creative.
at what point is AI life?
Yeah.
Like that's the real question then.
Yeah, this one's always like, how do you at what point, right? Where do you draw that line?
And it's hard.
Because we are a set of our impressions, right? Everything we've observed and taken in, everything to our life has led us to this moment, and we make a decision based on everything that we've taken in and how our brain is configured at that exact moment to make a decision, and our perceptions. And I mean, even identical twins who are as identical as it gets can make wildly different things because they've heard things differently, they've experienced life differently. And like, where do you draw that line of, AI, human? And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think this like AI music, I think it's cutesy, but I don't know. Like, I think this applies to art. I think this applies to music. I think it applies to film. I think you need that superstar behind, that person behind the medium to propel that, so people can. It's like you couldn't have an AI Taylor Swift.
But so
I don't know.
But
if
could you have an AI that is its own thing? It's not modeled after any existing human that eventually becomes popular enough to be a Taylor Swift level of.
Well, and what I would add before we get to what Chad has said, Billy, is that yes, we wouldn't be okay with it, but I don't think the future wouldn't be okay. I think it'll get to a point where it's normalized and it's just whatever is whatever, and we can see it because we're in the moment of time where AI is still kind of, it's close, but there's an uncanny valley about a lot of stuff, right, with it. I think it'll get to the point where it's not. And at that point, I think people get lazy, like they always do, and just not care.
Well, that's what I was going to say also. So before we get into this, at what point do you as a human being, if you're interacting with an AI, even if you know that it's still just what they're programmed to do, at what point do you stop caring? And you're just like, it doesn't matter. To me, they're real. How advanced does it need to be?
Yeah.
It has to be indistinguishable.
If it's indistinguishable, even if it tells you, Billy, at the end of the day, I just want you to remember that I am an AI. I just want you to know that. And I know that I'm here for you, and I know that I can answer your questions, but I am an AI. At what point do you not care?
What a weird world that would be.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Blade Runner 2049. Joy
yeah.
is an AI that he falls in love with. And watching, I mean, that's, it's a movie, so it's written, but it's like, if AI were to reach that point.
Well, if AI was at that point, it could go beyond that and like learn from you to feed you exactly what you would want to make you fall even more in love. And so like to that point, you're almost having a more of a human experience. Think about how many people go through life and like are never loved, or like never feel loved, or get used and abused by people around them, whatever. Like there's a ton of lonely people in this world. Ton of lonely people. Basement dwellers, people play MMOs. I know plenty of them, okay? And like the ability to have even that, like that's crazy. I think they would absolutely latch on to it, and I don't think they would care. I would question what the human population does at that point. It would be funny because you probably would find more fulfillment at some point. If we're taking it to that point, you would find more fulfillment in falling in love with an AI than you would another human being. Because they could never be mad at you.
They could be the perfect partner.
Well, they could stay young forever and be hot forever, and they could never.
That's the only criteria.
Like
that's when I don't care.
That's when I don't care. But
once they're hot,
if that's what you cared about, and there's plenty. I mean, like at the end of the day, I think there's plenty of people that would just be interested in it for that piece. But
Jingle Bees says maybe the difference is the ability to feel something, so emotion. So
yeah, but what is that?
Perfectly simulated emotion or real emotion?
What's the difference?
Exactly. At what point do you stop caring? If it's perfectly simulated, then it's real. Right?
That
I
always,
feel like it would have to be.
Did you get so excited that your headphones came
no,
unplugged?
I noticed that I had to put mine back through the hole. So
Oh.
it was bugging me because
yeah.
his was back, yours
Yeah,
was
we
back.
brought it back.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have to be like a learning model, and it would be, but like where you could. It not only has to deliver a very human experience to you, but it would also have to deliver like grow with you and challenge you and push you. Like this is where it could get into like abuse, right? Where like imagine an AI telling you you're perfect just the way you are, don't challenge yourself, just don't do anything. Like every date night is you just chilling at your home. You never have to feed it, you never have to do it. Like it's just a
At that point,
Yeah.
it's not a true AI, though. I think in order for it to be a true AI, it has to be able to think for itself. It can't be your slave.
Right. So like
Yeah.
so that's the point I'm making. Like part of the human experience, like even you guys challenge me, you know, like you disagree with me and stuff. And like we're great friends. And I think that builds, I think that builds into our relationship, that it isn't something that like I know I can just spew garbage and you guys like, you're a genius, you're the smartest human being. Like, you know what I mean? Like you guys will push back on certain things. I feel like dialing that in so precisely is I don't know, is the whole kit and caboodle.
You could get really scary with it, where like the AI lover could like influence you, and then some big fucking
It's-
corporate overlord is like, people need to be more calm.
You could get
Yeah.
you could hey dude, you could get the unlocked version for let's say 40 grand, or you could get the Amazon sponsored AI model for 20 grand, and it'll influence you constantly to like buy shit on Amazon.
Yeah, where it's
Like, hey, we broke a
Hey.
utensil. We need this deal's on Amazon for $5 or whatever. Buy this.
hey, honey, I saw this deal on Amazon Prime for $14.99.
Feeds you ads. Right? Honey, are you having a problem?
Have you
There's,
seen the movie Her?
I know, but I've heard of it.
Yeah,
It's
it's he
pretty
falls in love
good.
with Siri.
yeah, well,
basically.
like she's like an advanced AI voiced by Scarlett Johansson. And it's like interesting, but it kind of touches in on the whole like relationship thing with an artificial intelligence and kind of a melancholy ending ish. But
Very
if
much
you
so.
if you haven't seen it,
Because he like meets her, right?
it doesn't meet her, but like if I remember right, like he realizes that she has a relationship simultaneously with like thousands of other people while having a relationship with him, and then he realizes that it's not
not real.
unique and it's not real, but he can't distinguish that she's not, because that's how advanced it is. And so
That's what I'm
that
thinking.
falls into that argument of like, at what point do you stop caring that
Yeah.
it's an AI?
Yeah, if it could be trained on the same way that like humans think and evolve, then I think that's the key. We have another question here. Here's a thought. Can a human artist use AI to help enhance their artistic talents, or would that be cheating in a sense? Well, I don't think it's cheating at all. Like we draw influence and inspiration from the world constantly. And I think AI can really help in the sense of generating a base image or a collage of images that can really inspire you to take and build.
I don't think it's cheating. I think it needs to be disclosed, is all.
And I think definitely right now it's frowned upon.
Well, you guys are specifically talking because the AI models are trained on other artists' work, right? That's
well,
why.
there's that, but like I feel like if you're utilizing AI as a tool, even if it's not cheating, I feel like you need to disclose what tools you use to create that art. And if you used AI, then no matter what type of art it is that you're working on, that should be disclosed. You need to disclose the tools you use to create whatever it is you create.
So here's the question with that one, Kyle. If I, like Billy was saying, if I just use that art for reference, just to look at it, get my brainstorm going, do I have to put that down that say I stared at images of these for 4 hours to
And
come
here's
up
the
with
yeah,
my
you
idea?
cite your sources.
But here's the thing: I can go to Sistine Chapel, get inspired there. I'm not gonna say I went to the Sistine Chapel.
You should. I think if you're going to sell your
Publish
art or
artwork.
publish your artwork, I think that you owe it to the people to say what you were inspired by. Now, being inspired by something is not the same as using something. So like you can say, like, you necessarily don't have to like cite that I was inspired by. But if you're just inspired by AI art, that's not the same thing as using AI as a tool. But I feel like as an artist, you should disclose like what inspires you, and they do. Artists do. They talk about what their inspirations, the things that they look at and all the time. So that I don't think that would change just because they looked at AI art and were inspired by it. Now, if they actually use the tool, that's different,
Well,
How was this created? I created this with, this style of paint, these brushes, and a little bit of this AI.
a little bit.
Yeah, it's like goes back to that old adage of like, I don't care how the ditch is dug. If you use a spoon or a shovel, I just want a ditch. And I think the artist ultimately wants to just create artwork. And so I see AI in its current state nothing more than a tool to use at our disposal and leverage and into writing better things or quicker things so that our output, the sum of our parts is greater, right? Or what is that? That we're greater than the sum of our parts, right? Which is we only have our own proclivities that we can produce this stuff, but if we have these tools that we can enhance and perform better and do more and inspire more, I think that's all positive. I don't see that being at all negative.
Right now, AI really is just a tool, at least at the state it's in right now. I used AI to help me write all of my employee reviews at my work.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you seen Grok?
I wrote it first, right? So I wrote for the reviews, I would write like a paragraph. I would plug it in, and I would say, expand upon this, make it sound more professional and in this type of environment, and like give me a better version of what I just wrote, and then it would spit it back out to me in a much better way than I wrote it.
Yeah.
And so I used it as a tool, and it also saved me a lot of time.
And it's
better than anything you could have probably wrote. Unless you sat there for hours.
You just tell it. You say, this is what they need to work on. This is what they're doing good. And it'll write it for you way better than you could possibly do.
And there's a difference between plagiarizing it and using it for inspiration, or using it to, like Kyle said, to refine like a tool. Using it like a tool versus just letting it do it for you.
Yeah. Did you disclose in your reviews that you use?
I did. Oh. No, I did not. Are you kidding me?
There you go.
So I'm already breaking my own rules.
If not, that's your problem.
Ever seen the movie Transcendence with Johnny Depp? It raised a lot of questions about self-awareness.
No, my dad loves that movie, though.
I don't think I've ever seen it either.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
Wait, Transcendence, is that the one?
I think that's the one where he gets uploaded into the computer.
Yes, okay. I think I actually did watch it.
I didn't see it, but I saw the
long time ago
trailers for it and stuff. Transcendence.
There's so many like good, inspiring like film like that where it makes you
funny.
think.
My dad, he always calls this kind of shit like long time ago. I remember when I was like, I don't know, 13 years old maybe. He told me, he was like, there's gonna come a point where actors won't even be needed anymore. I was like, what are you talking about? And he's just like, technology is gonna get to a point where they could just simulate anyone they want, and then they can just create a movie from there, and they don't need actors. And he's like, and we'll see when that happens, because I was playing like, I don't know, like Mass Effect or something, and I know for a fact that if this really starts to take off, my dad's gonna be like, I told you, because he always does. He's still to this day, he's like, I thought of the idea of Netflix like back in 1998.
Damn, missed out. It's kind of funny now that we're really getting into this discussion. It's kind of funny that they're even with the actors specifically trying to get their likeness. Why can't they just do what they've done with all other types of mediums and not have them sign anything and just steal it anyway and build a model? And because it's only using 0.01% of their likeness anyway, that it's not enough to say you stole it from them, right? Because that's how all these other models work. Our AI uses art, all this art that's been created by people over the years, and to build their model. With Chat GPT and stuff like that, they all use internet articles and how things are written to build this sort of model together. Why can't they take all of film and TV and build their own AI generated perfect human
You know what
being?
I think it is? Because it's safer to have a licensed
They're
model
already approval instead of get sued
Uh,
later.
because if they create their own version of a person, I guarantee you it's gonna have just enough likeness to somebody that already exists that'll sue the shit out of them for how dare
Yep.
you use my face.
That's my jaw.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks a little bit like Dwayne Johnson.
With how
It's
many
like-
people there are in the world, there's somebody out there that would look probably just like anything they could create, unless they don't look like a human.
So that's where we're going. Non-human characters, no more.
I still feel like you need a star. Like even, but like, I think this.
That's why animation is good, because they don't have to look like
Yeah.
real humans. They can look like kind of any kind of version of a human you want.
Well, see, in the finals, they used AI to generate a bunch of voices. Like they didn't use pay voice actors; they just used AI and had somebody write the lines. I still just feel like you need like even the music, right? I think it pops off for a little bit because it's cute and new.
For you,
But I feel like I don't know if it's ever going to have the same
I-
draw
I think
as
it
a
will.
superstar. I think there has to be a person behind the mirror.
There's
You think
Hatsune
that barrier will
Miku.
wear out?
Hatsune Miku.
Is that a VTuber?
No, it's a Japanese Vocaloid. This thing's old. It's an AI voice that's been around for 10, 15 years probably. Things like Britney Spears in Japan.
Really?
It's huge. And it's not real. It's not
But
real.
somebody's making the
it's
music.
not. It's Dylan.
What you can do, you can pay for the ability to use her voice. And like a DJ will pay for the license to use her voice, and then they can program it, whatever to sing whatever.
Okay.
And it's huge. She's huge.
Okay.
You've probably at least seen a glimpse of her once.
Probably.
What a weird time.
So I think it just takes time of time and comfortability and people
How long before
getting used to it.
technology advances to the point where we're like those, how old people are about cell phones? You know, like, I can't get this thing to work the way I want it to. Like, how long before we get to that point where we're like, what the hell? I don't know. What is this bullshit?
Yeah.
I think it's happening right now slowly. And if we don't learn to effectively leverage AI tools, I honestly believe that we will be left in the dust.
Ash Nico, Tat says Ash Nico did a collab with Hatsune Miku.
Yeah. That's so weird to think about.
You can make Plankton sing Last Resort and it sounds good. Yeah. It's kind of wild, man.
It'll pick
And these
up.
are at like our fingertips, you know, like on a whim that you can just type this shit in and create it. I mean, think about where we were 5 years ago with AI. Like, what was Google Assistant was the best, like, and that sucked. Or like
Siri.
Siri.
Yeah.
Like, was
Like-
Siri even a thing 5 years ago? We're talking
Siri was a thing
2018,
10
2017.
years ago, I think.
Really?
Yeah, Siri's
Yeah.
been around for a while.
But when did it start like becoming like decent enough to where people used it? I don't know.
Do people still use
I know
Siri?
they're still a little weird, right?
I mean,
I use it as a novelty item.
I don't think I've ever seriously used Siri except for like when I'm driving, where I'm like, "Hey Siri, play something on Spotify." Like, you know, that's I don't think it's Siri's not an AI. Like
Yeah.
it's just like a search engine.
So
like for you.
Microsoft just was announcing that they're working on like their version of AI to embed into the start menu of like how Cortana used to be. But like when you hit the start button, it launches like a super effective AI that you can like ask it questions, uses the internet, writes you an email, post, whatever, so that it's like within your computer.
Could you imagine it gets to the point like we already have where the ads are like, I know you were thinking about this. You mentioned it once, and now here's an ad for
We
it.
already have that.
Could you imagine the Google Assistant? You just tap it; it already knows what you were going to ask.
It's studied your brain for so long. It's so tuned in.
I don't
to you.
even like when I'm like texting and it knows how I text and it tries to guess what my
And we're back. Okay, we're back. So, okay, so Jingle Bees and Millennial Ghost. When did my question to you guys is when did you first start using like those voice assistants? When you think back, when did you start using them? Because like I know they debuted a while ago, but like they haven't even been like in consumers' hands in like a really usable way in a long time. Like you couldn't. I think even now, can you even use it to like launch an app? Or I guess you
Yeah.
can use
Yeah.
it to launch an app
Dude,
right now.
Siri was first introduced to the iPhone in 2010,
So 2010, but
13 years ago.
was it like literally to create an alarm or something? Like I don't.
I think it was pretty
limited.
much what it is now.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. I don't remember it ever being different than what it is now.
I remember
Other
them
than you could-
sucking.
Other than you could like, now you can make them Irish and
No,
like
I
change
remember
their
them
accents
sucking because
and-
I remember you like especially like the Samsung one, and Google Assistant. Like when that first came out, you had to literally say word for word like, "Hey Google, call this person." Which person would you? Like you had to know the trigger words to get it to do what you want. And now you can be a lot more conversational.
I think maybe it's a case of one of those things that the technology evolved like slowly enough to where you didn't notice the changes over time. It wasn't like it made huge leaps.
but you still to this day don't really use it. So like it,
Only
it
when I'm
doesn't-
driving.
So
it
you
opens
don't
apps
find
for
it
me.
valuable even now. Like this is leading consumer tech in your hands.
I do find it
It's
valuable, but not if I'm not.
If you have your
only if I need to
proclivities.
use it as a hands-free device.
It has a very
Yeah.
specific use.
yeah.
Okay, I used Cortana a little bit back on the Windows. Oh shit, we got a Windows phone user? Dude, I wanted that to be so good. So badly because it could run exe files, which that's like you could game on. You could use like executable programs to run Windows.
Like Guild Wars.
You could play games on it. And I'm like, this is the potential. It's It's incredible. And I use Siri for simple tasks like setting alarm. Yeah. See, but like in terms of asking it, like it's not really AI. It's just it's truly an assistant, right? It's just like there
Yeah.
to.
Which
to
I don't
get you
think
where
it
you
was
need to
ever
go.
advertised as an AI yet.
Well, I think that's what people always thought of as AI. If you ask people what
Their
AI was, they're like, I
understanding
use
of-
Siri every day.
Their understanding of AI was much different back then. Artificial intelligence is I like the way Mass Effect does it. That it's a virtual intelligence until you can't define until it becomes life and then it becomes an artificial intelligence. Like an AI. That's virtual intelligence is different than artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I just feel like if we can get more like these tools exist in browser forms and they just came onto the scene within the last 12 months, right? Like
If
where
you
we
say-
really started using them.
Lumos to Siri, your flashlight will turn on.
That's from
You've
Harry
never done
Potter,
that?
right? Yeah.
And then you can say the spell to turn it off,
Knox.
and it goes off.
Knox is to turn it off.
I mean, that's what he says in
Lumos.
the movie.
Ooh.
Lumos.
Knox.
No,
You might do you
mine
have
doesn't know it.
No, well, I was talking in the meantime.
Did you have to have Siri up though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did
Oh.
press
Do
it.
it.
I thought
Do it. Do it right
it's
now.
not worth it anymore.
No, do it. It's worth it.
My phone's
I'm
feeling
invested.
self-conscious.
I'm invested in you.
My phone's feeling self-conscious. It's okay.
Do it, Kyle.
It doesn't want to anymore. It doesn't want to. Don't put it on the spot. It's
It's
Come on.
uncomfortable. It's more than an assistant. That's his girlfriend.
yeah. Don't tell Tori.
So I think there's like it's kind of this has been a super interesting discussion because I feel like if more of like ChatGPT tools and like have you guys seen Grok from Twitter that Elon announced like 3 days ago?
No.
It's like a brand new
Grok?
model. Grok. Grok.
It sounds like the meathead in a D&D party.
Grok. Yeah, that's true. Like a troll under, the
Yeah.
counter. It's supposed to be real, like leverage the internet real time, but then also I'll have like the powerful model capabilities of like ChatGPT and things like that. There's been a couple other ones that have come out. It'd be interesting to see how that one specifically is leveraged. But imagine those tools being like embedded in your Windows. Because like for me, what prevents it from me using it at work is I have to go to the browser, copy it, paste it, and it's just kind of clunky. But if it's embedded into your computer, it's embedded into your phone of like, you don't have to launch
Like
an
a
app.
plug-in.
Yeah, you don't have to launch an app. You don't. You can press a button. You can announce a name or whatever, trigger it, and you can have that like real time discussion, and get really good quality information back. Now, I think you'll really start seeing a lot more people use it.
Yeah, I think that's probably what they hope to do with Cortana and with Siri is to get it to that point.
Cortana's dead.
Oh, well.
Been dead.
Or as
Dead.
Cortana says to Master Chief, "Come on, take a girl for a ride." What was it, Halo
From
4?
Halo, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Google. Are you talking Millennial Ghost? Are you talking about the visual search where you can like search a picture, like reverse search an image, or
AI assisted search tool.
Might be the
I think they're
image one.
referencing. Because have you seen that? Like, no, it has
Here.
text assist too. What?
I was just pointing out the
Oh.
chat.
Yeah, I don't know about the text assist. How would that like? It would help you
predicts what you're
format
saying.
your questions.
So AI assisted search tool. So what is it? It like predicts what you're trying to find and does it better for you.
Maybe. It's like
But
you
isn't
worded
that
this wrong.
isn't that Google as a whole? Like, I feel like I type in like I often will go to Google with a question that I don't even know how to ask, and then it does a pretty damn good job of like figuring out like what you're trying to point to. Because like sometimes you might not know the name of something, and and so you kind of like give a little context, like that video we just watched before stream. I didn't really know it, kind of painted around it like what I knew about it, and then it was the number one search. I feel like that is Google. So it tries to answer your search in a better way. Oh, okay. So when you ask a pointed question, instead of it giving you like the top rated article, it would just answer you. Google would just answer that for you with their own sort of AI response. I see. Okay. It's hard to explain without turning it on and playing it. Yeah. It's not quite like ChatGPT. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, this stuff's coming, and like I said, like I just commented before, I think this is just as like the internet boat. If we miss it as adults and young professionals, I think in 10, 15, 20 years, we will regret it professionally. I think we will be that old guy. I can't figure out the Zoom call.
But-
my shit's on mute. Why is my microphone from my refrigerator on? Like, you know, like I swear to God, you get into like these meetings and the guy's like, "Can you hear me? Oh, you have the wrong mic selected. What do you mean?
I'm not a cat.
What's a
I'm
microphone?
not a cat. Yeah.
I'm not
But-
a cat.
Not a
Billy-
cat. That's a great example.
Do you think we would be able to keep up eventually? Like, I'm of the opinion that we will also not be able to keep up at one point. just as we
Eventually, I think
age.
we're far off from that. Though.
Yeah.
I already feel a little bit off right now because I don't have TikTok.
Good thing I have it. I'm still hip, cool.
So yeah, there you go. But there'll be like
what's happening, you know?
there'll be terms and phrases or like styles of content.
Like Riz, we had to research Riz.
Yeah, I already feel that, man, with
Yeah.
all of my team is like not even that much younger than me, but they're younger than me. Like the youngest is like 21 and the oldest is like 25. And some of the stuff they say, I'm like, when did this happen? When did this become a cool thing to say? Like Riz was one of them, or like you're him was like, that's the new way to say you're the man. I
Yeah.
guess you're him.
I am Himmy.
Yeah,
Like
and like
Jimmy.
and a bunch of other things that I don't even understand. Like sometimes I feel like I'm listening to a foreign language and I was like, when did that happen? Like
Charisma.
I went from like in the know, like not even like 5 years ago, to all of a sudden feeling like I missed out on so
Yeah.
much.
I've got the tiz in chat.
Got the tiz.
Katisma.
Stop.
Well, and I think like we could joke around by like those stupid words, but I think you add enough of those in, and then you get a discrepancy to where you can't really relate with the younger people, and then you don't get on these platforms that they're leveraging. Like the internet. Like, how many people the older, like my dad was a blue collar worker, turned wrench his whole life. He had no need for the internet.
Yeah.
The only reason why he got into the computer was because he was like, holy shit, it's easier to pay bills.
No.
You know, like, and that's like his only reason to be on. So like he built a life around not needing it versus our lives we don't need the internet, but we've built a life around like consuming it because that's what we enjoy. And so like if we aren't tapping into all these other platforms, I feel like we lose out.
Tiz
a
is
little bit.
autism.
Yeah, you didn't get that.
No, I didn't know what that meant.
Oh, I thought he was just being joke. Like I thought it was katisma.
No, it's autism.
I did not get that. Oh shit. Well, maybe I do.
I'm
maybe
fucking behind. What the fuck?
Maybe I got the tiz.
I'm
don't
on the
know.
spectrum somewhere. I know that, but I don't
Yeah.
even know my own lingo to describe my autism. Apparently,
Sus.
it makes me think.
Sus.
I had a guy I was trying to help set up online banking today. That was, like 50 something, and he was getting so angry that he couldn't understand the fact that it was like sending him a code and he had to type in that code, like that he gave up and he walked out and he was like, fuck this. And he walked out and I was like, and in my head, I was like, how can you not like,
Yeah.
that's it's so simple. But then
This things like that. right?
things like Tiz humbles me. I didn't even know what that.
Well, and then now you have like things like two-factor authentication and like all these like security, like, so we have the tool and now there's all these security reasons. And if you don't really understand why it's important to have that or what two-factor authentication means and stuff like that, you add, they're just one little example, but you add up enough of them, you get skipped at some point, you lose something and now you're disconnected. And I think, I don't know, man, you lose something as like a professional for sure. Think about it if you graduated college in like 1997, like how different the uphill battle that you would be like from 97, like the first 10 years of your career, you would complete your first 10 years of career in 2007. Where like you go from 97 where you're probably not even working on a computer to 2007, you're guaranteed to have a computer. And like your whole life is totally shifted, and like your education, like that's a tough spot to be in.
And then I get self-conscious about things like if I do start trying to learn and do things that this younger adults are doing, where I'm like, I immediately think of like that meme where he's like, "Hello, fellow kids, hold the skateboard."
Well,
Like,
and the truth is, it's like even if we try to get into it, it's just ungenuine.
yeah,
Like
it's-
I can go up and I can be like, I got that Riz.
got that, and then
and
they're
it
like, "Oh,
doesn't-
what a jokester!"
Yeah,
this
it's
guy."
like because I'm older and I say that.
I don't got that Riz, but I got that Tiz. You know what I mean?
Yeah, multi-factor authentication is a complicated thing to figure out when you get so used to keeping one password in a notebook somewhere.
For sure.
100%.
And then you got single sign-on that you layer onto that, which most companies deploy.
No.
It's a lot for. There are things like, have you noticed this? Being a younger person at like a company and like you watch us, well, maybe you guys don't really experience this too much, but like when you're in like a professional meeting or something, and maybe someone who's in their 50s is like screen sharing, and maybe you're doing like a demo or you're exploring like a new product or whatever. Just their ability, their natural ability to like navigate the menus and stuff. You see it's not intuitive to them. Versus me, it's like, oh, that's probably here. That's probably here. Okay, you probably could, that plus sign probably means that. And it's just intuitive.
When I went,
What are we going to miss out on if, we sit side on so many of these things?
the worst I always see it is when I go through like training at a company. I can figure it out pretty fucking fast, like as far as an online computer system. But having to watch people and then you have to sit there and you have to watch their mouse go. And then the instructor, no, you're going to go down.
Oh, God.
Click that. Okay. And then you're going to click and it's like,
Dude, and it's when you're following the guide too.
The person that volunteers to share their screen is always somebody that doesn't know how to use a computer. And you're like, who wants to share their screen? Like in a training course or whatever. And then they'll be like, all right, so go ahead and copy this. And they're like,
Yeah.
how do I copy?
what
Control C. Oh, you're a hacker.
You mean
You're a hacker.
You use Control C to copy? Whoa. This guy's
Hacker skills. Jeez.
hacker skills.
What I wouldn't pay to be 25, whatever the fuck they say. We got a guy in Teams meetings who doesn't understand how to face a camera. Always get a nice shot of his forehead. I love that too, where they have their camera set up like 4 inches from their face, and you just got like a close up. Or they have it on the side, and you're just literally staring at their ear the whole time.
But the thing with that is like, I know people that do that on purpose because they're insecure, and that also weirds me out.
That's so weird. You want to have a closer up because you're insecure?
I've had like where they only show the top of their face.
Oh, because they don't want to show their chin.
I guess.
That's
And I'm like,
so stupid to me.
Yeah, wait. What
Yeah,
are
I've
they
seen
like
that.
a superhero?
I have so
trying
many-
to hide
yeah.
their identity.
They'll
What-
do it. Yeah, it kind of feels like that.
That's kind of odd.
it's so weird. And it's like, they're young. I'm like, I know you know how to use a camera, and you are purposefully putting it right there. Usually, they have a reason.
Usually they have a reason.
Used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what I'm with isn't it anymore, and what's it seems weird.
Yeah, that's a classic Simpsons quote right there.
It is.
Yeah, the grandpa said that.
Is everything a Simpsons quote? Are they trying to reach that point where
probably is.
every single word spoken is a Simpsons quote?
Simpsons has predicted a lot of things.
We've got a guy in team meetings who
Yeah, I
read
read
this
that one.
already.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to think that I'm pretty literate when it comes to a lot of things, but
One day we won't.
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll
You have
be
to,
we'll be talking to AI, and the youngins will be like, "God, just tell it this," and we're like, "But how does it know?"
You're still using AI. I moved on to PI so long ago. Like,
Private investigator.
just whatever the next version of like private intelligence.
Private
Like,
intelligence.
like, or
That reminds me
RI,
of
real
that,
intelligence, not
in
artificial.
Back to the Future Part 2, when he plays that shooting game, and then the kids are like, and this is 2015, so this is apparently
happening.
the future, but the kid was like, "Wait, you have to use your hands to play this game? It's like a kid's toy." And then they walk away, and he's like, "What?" That's what it reminds me of.
And then they fax him the fine.
Yeah, you're fired. Back to the Future Part 2 was probably the weakest for me because it was a very poor representation of what the future could be. That's why the Old West one, Back to the Future
1 and
3,
3.
and the first one are the best. 2 is entertaining, but it's just not.
I
It was a
agree.
poor prediction of the future.
In iRobot, they have like 2035 or whatever, and it's like we're not on track to.
We're not on track.
You
To
guys
have
were a
what
little
I
bit
robot.
optimistic there.
Well, also, I mean, even like Blade Runner 2049, we're not going to be seeing the stuff that they.
Well, wasn't it the original Blade Runner was like 2015 too?
Yeah. Well,
2015 was the year for a lot of stuff.
I like the cyberpunk explanation is it's not the future, it's an alternate reality.
And
So
Fallout.
it could be any year they want it to be.
I'd love to see like an artificial intelligence model like try to tackle math problems, or like you feed it the logic, the known universe rules.
Oh, you mean like problem, not just like math, but like things that we haven't been able to solve yet.
Yeah,
using
like you
math.
feed it you feed it the laws of the universe that we like know, and like that information, and then you like feed it the data of like black holes and all that stuff, and it's like mathematically like crunch and come up with something creative that we haven't thought of or something. And it solves like, hey, at the singularity point, the math suggests this or something, and then that would be kind of interesting to have it thinking for us in that perspective. But I don't know. I think at the end of the day, it probably requires a human to then understand that, to then apply it, right?
I want AI
Until
to
it
get to the
becomes-
point where it can get us to travel space.
Light speed.
Yeah.
What value?
Until we create math that can override the existing math, we're not going faster than the speed of light.
AI can do that.
It can make up whatever it wants to make up, but it has to be able to figure out some way to logically bypass the existing math, because you just can't go faster than the speed of light until something
break Einstein.
until something that doesn't exist, or at least something we haven't discovered yet, is discovered. Because right now, with what we know, that's just not possible.
We have to break relativity to be able to accomplish that. And right now,
And that's a
there's-
whole fucking can of worms. I think there's a lot more that goes into space travel than TVs and books
Yeah.
talk about. Like, just what that would do to time is just insane to think about. Like,
Interstellar,
energy
Michael
required.
Caine figured it out.
yeah, well, Interstellar was actually a very good representation of
Yeah.
what the actual effects time travel would have on time. Not time travel, space travel would have on time and everything.
I think it was like the first time in a mass media film that they like showed time dilation
Yeah, like
and to
in-
that extent, and it was like a part of the movie.
right.
So cool.
Sad too.
Mm-hmm. I waited. How many years? 15 years or something like that.
I've been waiting.
But he
for
was helping her
17
all
years.
along. He was,
And
her
then the
watch.
ship just blows up.
No, the guy they
The
left.
guy that stayed behind, the scientist.
Oh, the
He's
dude
like-
that was like lonely,
and then the ship blows up, and he dies anyways.
oh yeah, like 5 minutes after they come back, huh?
Yeah.
Well, no, they
Oh
go
wait,
to
no, they go to that Hoth.
Matt
planet, right?
Damon
Yeah.
and Matt Damon.
He couldn't.
And then he
He
killed
couldn't
him.
handle it for fucking what, a year. He's like,
I was isolated.
I pray you never know what true loneliness feels like, or whatever he says. There comes a time in every man's life, blows up the ship.
Then best Hans Zimmer song comes out.
Dun 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 dun. Come on, Tars.
What we just evolved to quoting Interstellar.
Hey, if we end the night on Interstellar, that's a night well done, I say, because that's one of his best.
I don't want to take us off AI, but I do want to ask what you guys think Christopher Nolan's best movie is. That seems like a good discussion.
We've answered that question like 18
I think
times.
my answer changes though every
yeah,
time we.
who's your favorite? Which one is your favorite? Not the best, but your favorite.
Just your favorite.
Interstellar.
Same for me.
I think Interstellar as well. I think that's not his, as far as like films go, that's not his best film. I think honestly, I think Oppenheimer is probably his like best film. But my favorite film it's really close. Inception's a really close second, but Interstellar's number one.
Matthew McConaughey killed it.
You sure did.
You know what scares me is we have like, it doesn't scare me, but I think about this often.
I was like, he's about to get real deep.
I am.
You know what scares
Are
me?
we prepared for this? The fact that we have more human beings on planet Earth than ever, and this is the first time if you think about anybody who's ever done anything productive historically, you look at their families. First off, you had to pretty much be white, and you also had to be pretty much male, right? That was just how the world worked. And
So we're all doing pretty good.
we passed that test. No, and then you also had to come from a predominantly like a royalty family or like a very wealthy family, because when you look at any of these people's lives, they most often came from a family of wealth where it allowed them to take on these super unique hobbies.
I would say
And
that
push this
still
forward.
applies in a less form, but still.
I would say it's so less of an effect because we have so much time for free time.
But I
as a
still think it
species.
applies.
Yeah,
I missed
but
the first
I would
part.
Like
what do we say?
that the rich stay rich.
Oh yeah.
What do you mean? What?
I still think
The rich stay rich. I'm not making that point at all. do you mean?
well, that's the point I was saying is like that you were saying a part of, surviving was like you came from a predominant family that had money.
Oh, okay. No. So what I'm saying is to be able to have the time, the free time to have this hobby.
Oh.
Whether it's to build a fucking telescope and look at the moon, or like to Rene Descartes, right, who invented the Cartesian coordinate system, who had the luxury of being like this philosopher who could lock himself in a basement for weeks on end and
I get
come
you.
up with stuff like that. You had to be wealthy to be able to have that life. And I feel like the bar for that, like before there was probably, in the 16, 17, 1800s, there was probably maybe 1 million people. That's probably a gross overstatement. 1 million people that fell into those buckets to be able to have that privilege enough to do that. I would say in today's world, that bar to be able to like have I would say probably anywhere from 3 to 5 hours of free time a day, so to say, as an adult. I would say there's probably a billion people that fall into that bucket. But my question is, do we are we so addicted to dopamine hits through like TikTok and all these things that waste our time and podcasts and shit like this content that has had a negative impact on us to a point where like you would think if before we had this pace of progress, right? And before, that was with just 1 million people pushing it. But now 1 billion people fall into that bucket. Our pace of progress should be skyrocket. But why are we not seeing it? Have we invented something that is perpetually holding us back?
I think so. I think the barrier to entry has lowered as far as like you were saying, with like free time. But I think along with that lowering, filters have been added that stop more people and more people, like social media, societal norms. Like, I just think there's so many things in place now that, like Leonardo da Vinci or anybody, Plato, didn't have to deal with.
Yeah.
Like, they could just sit there.
We have too much entertainment.
We have too much stuff to distract us from, Leonardo da Vinci would sit there. The reason he came out with his art was he like had nothing else to do. He would sit there, watch the river. He's like, and like now it's like if I'm sitting there, I'm like, let me check Reddit.
Yeah, go on the phone.
But no, they were bored as fuck, and that created creativity.
Yeah,
not created creativity, but it led to.
I think you guys just sound a little old. You're not embracing.
Wow.
Well, it's interesting that I also think about how profitable technology is from like a content creation standpoint, or like back in the day when like everybody was wanting to create an app because everything was going to be a multi-million-dollar idea. Like I feel like that funneled a lot of our intelligence into that. Like, so technology is a place of growth. So like, because it's so profitable and fantastic and, it goes to everybody, that like a lot of our collective intelligence has been funneled into that industry versus before it's like, you could kind of do whatever. Like Da Vinci's credited with like being the father of robotics,
Yeah.
So like, he got into art and he got into like robotics and tinkering with shit like that. Other people wanted to stare up at the sky and built fucking crazy telescopes and shit because they had the money to do like whatever it was. Like Galileo is who I'm thinking of. And it's kind of interesting to see like all of our advancements as a civilization as of late is in that technology sphere, like material science and stuff like
so
that.
there's that whole push on like, don't let art die.
Can't
like
let
that part of the brain is not as respected as it used to be. Back then, it was like,
it's true.
I mean, when I say back then, I mean way back then. Like
the Renaissance.
Yeah, like artists were also the mathematicians and they did everything.
Yeah.
And now it's like,
it's a good point.
You're either one or the other. It's abnormal if you do both.
When they have the starving artist.
Yeah.
I know we've discussed this before, but I personally, I love and enjoy social media. Not all of them. I only use Reddit pretty much, and maybe Instagram. But I'm in the boat that I wish they didn't exist.
If you had a button to turn them off, you would.
I would.
Like when I stopped, like when I lost use of Facebook, like for the first couple of weeks, I was feeling kind of weird because even if I never posted anything, I always felt like I was on it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I was just on it to see photos, memes, and like what are people up to. But then like after like a couple weeks of not opening it, it's just like you realize, wow, that doesn't matter. Like it doesn't change. Like that's not real. That's not like those people I don't really talk to. Like, it's I don't. Social media is not huge to me. Like I have no like problem. Like I'm not one of those people that's like against social media. Like if you use social media, like that's totally fine. Like I would never judge somebody for using it. And if you get something out of that, great. But like it doesn't really have a benefit in my life either.
Yeah, I think it's a tool, and at the end of the day, I think it's provided a lot of joy, stress, struggle in people's lives. But I think as disruptive as it has been, I think we are all learning how to like appropriately use it. And
So you wouldn't turn it off.
I would not. No. I think it's important to have that as a learning curve, because like young people were drawn to those, like especially MySpace and Facebook, drawn to those platforms, and then they've kind of been pushed out and into other things. And I think we're all just sort of building up our scar tissue to these platforms and understanding what they serve, their purpose they serve to us, and I think that's all critical to being able to
I
leverage
think
these other tools down the line.
The three of us were all really bad at social media, and that's why we can't promote our podcast.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So you think social media is a net positive for
Absolutely.
society?
Absolutely. By far. I don't
Yeah.
even think it's close. There's definitely a lot of negatives, but I think by far social media as a whole, way better than not.
I think access to information is way better now than it was. Like, imagine having to wait for the nightly news to figure out shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like imagine. So like, there's a lot of things that modern technology and modern platforms and social media brings that is a plus for sure. I think the negatives, like anything, the negative is always what's talked about the most, though. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's the example of like, you know, if you work in customer service, you see 100 people, 99 of them were an absolute joy to you. Then one was terrible. That one person is the one you're thinking at the end of the
Yep.
day. You're not thinking of the 99 positive ones.
Yep.
So that's, I think, the same thing with social media. You think about, for every heroic story that you see of someone saving a dog, you'll see a cartel video or some shit that'll just ruin it.
Like make you think super negatively on humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
This got me thinking that, like, basically if you take social media and you like start pulling it apart, you would eventually get down that it's the same thing. There's another word for it. When I looked it up, it said symposium, but it's like in ancient Greece, you know, they had discussion.
Like a forum.
Yeah, the forum. And that's what it is. It's a forum. It's a people's opinions putting into public forum. Just,
Yeah. Discourse.
Mhm.
And
but
like
now instead of having to go to
an actual
courthouse,
physical,
yeah.
you can meet online and find much more niche groups, which is good and bad, right?
I'm just a lurker on all social media. I don't
Yeah.
interact with anyone on anything. Like on Reddit,
Yeah.
on YouTube. I never comment. I think I'm just a very antisocial person. Like I have
I never
my
post either.
my core group of people that I'm okay with
Loyal
being
followers.
myself around. But for the most part, like I'm just not a very adventurous person. Even if I had like an Instagram or something, I probably wouldn't really post anything of myself or anything like.
Well, I find it fascinating. Like I love psychology to begin with, but I would love to research, now that we're talking about this, like study into what causes the difference between people who aren't into social media and people who are. Like me, I have it, I lurk, but I rarely get the urge to post anything, if at all. But I would find that fascinating to see what makes that person, like, what's the difference, you know?
I think that falls back into the introvert versus extrovert thing. Like anytime I've ever posted anything, there's always been that part of me that's like, no one cares to see or hear this. You know, like I
A
never,
little voice.
yeah.
Kyle, no one cares.
No one wants to read. No one wants to see this picture. No one wants to read what your thought is on this. No one cares. And so every single time I can't tell how many times I've written something where I'm like, this is well worded, this makes sense. And then I'm like, nah. And I just delete it and move on.
Yeah.
Like, and I think maybe that might be like the introvert in me.
Yeah. I think also like a lot of people maybe who are more naturally or organically insecure, they post online because they want to see that real time feedback.
So if they're more insecure, they post online.
Probably.
Huh.
And then there's
'Cause they
probably the
seek
extroversion
validation.
stuff. Yeah, they're seeking validations, and it's a way
Interesting.
for cheap wins.
Yeah.
But I would not. Would you turn it? Did you answer that? Would you turn it off if you had a big button that can turn it off?
I didn't answer it, but like I did say, like I have nothing against social media. So like, I'd hesitate to turn anything off,
Just neutral. On
like
the-
regardless of what it is. If it's like an advancement,
yeah.
technology was, I don't think that we would be affected as negatively as maybe that you might be thinking. I don't know if the positives are that extreme in outweighing the negatives, but I also don't think I would jump to just turning it off.
Yeah. I would definitely leave it on. And I think the lessons that we have learned and are currently learning through social media are going to be instrumental in the lessons that we're going to learn for future tools like AI. It's just going to, like, it's all just building that scar tissue, preparing us for the next things that are coming. If you turn off social media, AI is coming online. And whatever issues that existed with social media are going to be way worse with that.
I think
So
if there's a
we just have to
potential,
build that scar tissue.
if there's a potential for progress in anything, regardless of what it is, you have to be very careful about removing that.
Yeah, I agree. But if I'm a betting man, I'm betting on humans to adapt and overcome.
But you're not a betting man, so we're not going
I'm
to
not
adapt.
either.
and overcome.
But I think a lot of people like to go, oh, it's the downfall of humanity. And it's like, okay, let's just slow the roll.
There's a lot of things that have been
Like
the
we're-
downfall to humanity. I mean,
HBO.
For a long time.
yeah.
You know,
Reefer Madness in the
Color
50s was
TV.
the downfall to humanity. Like
but like our-
women voting was the downfall to humanity. Like there's so many times
Yeah.
throughout history that they said this will end us all, and it didn't even dent.
Y2K.
Yeah,
Y2K.
The computers don't know how to go.
the clocks, the clocks don't go to 2000. What's gonna happen? Everything's gonna collapse. And then, oh, okay, I guess everything's fine.
Oh, it just keeps going. Okay.
Yeah. So, well, any other points that we want to touch on, or we want to?
I'd like to discuss. No, I'm just kidding. Let's go into another long conversation.
Nah.
Where can people find
Son?
us?
They can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, any major podcast listening platform you listen to, where we post regular episodes on Tuesday. And then if you didn't, please go check out our recent Saturday special episode, the Hot Ones
Ooh.
special, where we faced the 10 wings from hell.
And then we found out we were the hot ones.
I mean,
That's so true.
I already knew that,
I
but
knew it too.
If you like grown men drinking milk,
that
Then
is what you'll
that
see.
is-
If you have a fetish for 3 men dying to spicy hot wings, boy, do we have a video for you.
Get ready.
oh boy.
Bring the lotion and the Kleenex.
All right, and remember,
Anyways.
with a good KD, you get the dub.